the golden gentleman of Hollywood. Richard Gere. The name itself once evoked images of smooth charm, a piercing gaze, and a kind of effortless charisma that few actors could ever replicate. For decades, he was the man every woman wanted and the man every man admired. From American Gigolo 1980 to the classic romantic masterpiece Pretty Woman 1990, Gere carved out a legendary career that cemented his place among Hollywood royalty. Now, at 76 years old, Gere has aged into what many describe as a gentle statesman of cinema. He still commands respect, still turns heads with his distinguished silver hair, and still carries that aura of someone who has lived. But as the internet has taught us time and time again, respect doesn't always shield you from ridicule. And in Gere's case, that ridicule came not from a critic, not from a fellow actor, not even from a talk show host. It came from the most unlikely of sources. Lulu Simon, the daughter of legendary musician Paul Simon. Enter Lulu Simon, the troll no one saw coming. Lulu Simon is not exactly a household name. While her father Paul Simon is an immortal figure in the world of music, Lulu has quietly carved out her own niche in the indie pop scene. Her voice is delicate yet powerful, her lyrics laced with millennial wit, and her online presence unapologetically bold. Unlike her father, who is known for poetic restraint, Lulu doesn't hold back on social media. She's quick with sarcasm, sharp with her observations, and occasionally ruthless with her humor. That's exactly what played out when she decided to set her sights on none other than Richard Gere. It all started with a single tweet that read, "76 and still trying to be Pretty Woman's leading man? Richard Gere needs to retire the charm before it retires him." The tweet exploded. Within hours, it had been liked over 200,000 times and quote-tweeted with a mix of laughter, outrage, and disbelief. Why Richard Gere? The burning question on everyone's mind was, why him? Why would Lulu Simon, who has no known personal connection to Gere, publicly mock one of Hollywood's most respected figures? Some speculate it was a publicity move. Lulu, though talented, has often struggled to step out of her father's colossal shadow. What better way to generate buzz than by taking a shot at a global icon? Others believe it was generational commentary, Lulu representing a younger internet-savvy crowd poking fun at an older generation of stars who refused to step aside. But then there were those who believed it was simply Lulu being Lulu. She has a history of trolling, often making biting remarks about celebrities' fashion choices and cultural events. To her, Gere was just another easy target. The internet reaction, explosive and divided. The internet's response was nothing short of nuclear. Fans of Gere, many of whom grew up idolizing him, immediately leapt to his defense. They flooded Lulu's comments with reminders of Gere's contributions to cinema, his humanitarian work, particularly his efforts in Tibet and human rights, and his graceful aging. One fan wrote, "Richard Gere walked so your indie pop daddy could run. Show some respect." Another added, "Imagine trolling a man who gave us Pretty Woman, while your own biggest hit hasn't even cracked 1 million streams." But not everyone was against Lulu. In fact, a significant portion of the internet found her trolling hilarious. Memes started pouring in. Photos of Gere from his younger days were edited with captions like "Still got it at 76, while others photoshopped him holding a walking cane in the famous Pretty Woman poster. The debate quickly escalated beyond Gere versus Lulu. It became a generational war, boomers and Gen Xers defending Gere, while many millennials and Gen Z users sided with Lulu's humor. Richard Gere's silence speaks volumes. One of the most intriguing aspects of this saga was Richard Gere's own response, or lack thereof. The actor, who has never been one to indulge in social media theatrics, remained completely silent throughout the firestorm. No tweets, no interviews addressing it, no statements. To some, this silence was a testament to his class. Why dignify a troll, no matter whose daughter she is, with a response? To others, his silence was seen as weakness, an unwillingness to stand up for himself in an era where image is currency. But if there's one thing Gere has mastered over the decades, it's patience. Those close to him have hinted that while he was aware of Lulu's comments, he simply chose to rise above them. Lulu doubles down. If fans thought Lulu would backtrack or apologize, they were sorely mistaken. Instead, she doubled down with another post. "Y'all acting like I just insulted the Pope. Chill. It was a joke. But if Richard Gere is the Pope of rom-coms, then maybe it's time for a new Pope." That post only poured more gasoline on the fire. Gere's defenders saw it as blatant disrespect, while Lulu's supporters applauded her for standing her ground. The internet loves nothing more than a battle, and Lulu had just ensured that the saga wasn't going to die quietly. The Paul Simon factor. Adding another layer of intrigue to the story was the involvement of Paul Simon, though indirectly. While the music legend himself remained silent, many began dragging his name into the feud. Would Paul Simon ever approve of this? One fan asked. Richard Gere is a legend like your dad. Maybe show some humility. Another tweeted, suddenly the conversation wasn't just about Gere and Lulu. It was about legacy, respect, and whether children of famous stars feel entitled to mock other legends without consequence. Hollywood weighs in. As the feud gained traction, Hollywood figures began weighing in. Some comedians supported Lulu's right to joke, citing the importance of satire. But several actors, particularly those who had worked with Gere, were openly offended. Deborah Winger, Gere's co-star in An Officer and a Gentleman, allegedly told a reporter, "Richard has given his entire life to this industry. He deserves better than cheap jokes from someone writing on her father's name." Meanwhile, younger stars like Billie Eilish and Olivia Rodrigo were spotted liking Lulu's posts, signaling subtle support. The battle lines were drawn, not just online but in the industry itself. A reflection of Hollywood's age problem? Some analysts saw the entire feud as symptomatic of a deeper Hollywood issue, ageism. Richard Gere's Mockery wasn't just about him as an individual. It symbolized a larger cultural shift where aging stars are ridiculed instead of revered. Critics argued that Lulu's trolling wasn't just a joke. It was reflective of how society views older figures, particularly men, who dare to continue in an industry obsessed with youth. One viral thread on X, formerly Twitter, read, "Lulu mocking Gere is bigger than Gere. It's about how Hollywood tells us you have an expiration date. Gere doesn't, neither should anyone else." The meme storm that took over social media. When Lulu Simon dropped her "Retire the Charm" tweet, the internet did what it always does. It turned the situation into content. Overnight, Gere's photos became meme templates, spreading across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit with dizzying speed. Some of the most viral memes included a side-by-side of pretty woman Gere and present-day Gere with the caption, "Then pretty. Now still pretty, just with Medicare." A doctored poster of An Officer and a Gentleman with Gere holding a walking cane instead of Deborah Winger, captioned, "An officer and a gentle grandpa." TikTok edits of Gere in his younger roles with trending audio like, "I'm still standing, yeah yeah yeah." Ironically, many of these memes, while poking fun, actually highlighted how beloved Gere still is. Even the jokes carried undertones of affection. He wasn't being cancelled, he was being memed, which in today's culture often cements relevance more than it destroys it. Richard Gere's past controversies resurface. Whenever a celebrity faces new public scrutiny, the internet loves to dig up their past. Gere, despite his dignified image, is no stranger to controversy. In the 1990s, he made headlines for his outspoken support of Tibet, famously calling out China during the Oscars. Hollywood insiders claimed this bold political stance cost him major roles. His romantic relationships, including a high-profile marriage to Cindy Crawford, were constantly under the microscope, painting him as both a heartthrob and a controversial figure. And then there's the infamous urban legend, the absurd, false gerbil story, which has haunted Gere for decades despite having zero factual basis. Now, thanks to Lulu's trolling, these old narratives resurfaced in memes, think pieces, and late-night comedy sketches. For Gere's defenders, it felt like salt in the wound. For his detractors, it was an opportunity to pile on. Lulu Simon, a career boost or backlash? For Lulu Simon, the trolling stunt may have been a gamble, but in today's internet-driven culture, gambles often pay off. Her Spotify streams reportedly tripled in the week following the Gere incident. People who had never heard of her music clicked out of curiosity, while some even admitted they only searched her name to see who the girl trolling Gere is. But the boost came with backlash. Critics labeled her famous for being famous, accusing her of weaponizing her father's reputation for clout. One brutal op-ed in a New York entertainment blog was titled, "When your dad wrote Bridge Over Troubled Water but you troll Richard Gere for stream." Whether Lulu planned it or not, the controversy made her relevant in a way her music alone hadn't managed to achieve. Fan reactions, divided but passionate. The Gere versus Lulu drama became more than just a story. It became a battleground for fans to project their own frustrations, values, and generational divides. Gere's defenders, many older fans, saw Lulu's comments as emblematic of a disrespectful youth culture that tears down legends. To them, Gere represented an era of cinema where romance, elegance, and subtlety reigned supreme. Lulu supporters, younger fans argued that Gere's defenders were too sensitive and that Lulu's trolling was harmless comedy. They framed it as the new world of social media, where no one, no matter how respected, is safe from being roasted. The neutral crowd, some fans enjoyed the chaos without taking sides. They circulated memes, laughed at both Gere and Lulu, and reveled in the spectacle without attaching moral weight to it. The passion on both sides ensured that the story didn't fade. Instead, it spiraled into a larger cultural conversation. The media's role in fanning the flame. Of course, mainstream media outlets couldn't resist. Headlines like, "Pretty Woman star Richard Gere mocked by Paul Simon's daughter. Hollywood reacts. Gere at 76. Should legends be immune from internet trolling?" From Paul Simon to Pretty Woman, a clash of cultural icons across generations. Talk shows debated it. Tabloids dramatized it. Online magazines analyzed it. Everyone wanted a slice of the story because it was more than gossip, it was a collision of eras. Some publications framed Gere as a victim of cruel mockery. Others painted Lulu as a bold voice of the digital generation. The truth was more complicated, but nuance rarely sells as well as spectacle. The Hollywood gossip angle. Behind the scenes, whispers began to circulate. Some insiders claimed that Lulu had personal beef with Gere after a private encounter at a Hollywood event years ago where she felt he had dismissed her. Others suggested that Lulu's trolling was part of a PR push orchestrated by her team, using controversy as a marketing strategy. While none of these claims were confirmed, the whispers added fuel to the fire. Entertainment gossip thrives on mystery, and the more speculation that swirled, the bigger the story grew. Gere's dignity versus internet. At the core of the drama was a philosophical clash. Gere's old-school dignity versus Lulu's internet-age irreverence. Gere's refusal to comment made him look noble to some and weak to others. Lulu's refusal to back down made her look bold to some and disrespectful to others. In many ways, this feud encapsulated the changing face of celebrity culture. Then, celebrities maintained distance, mystery, and class. Now, celebrities survive through engagement, relevance, and viral moments, even if that means trolling icons. A moment of reflection for Hollywood. As the storm continued, some voices called for reflection. Was this really about Gere and Lulu, or was it about how society treats aging men in the public eye? Why was Gere mocked for still being charming at 76, while older rock stars or billionaires flaunting their lifestyles often escape such ridicule? Was Lulu's trolling simply a joke, or did it reveal a deeper discomfort with men who remain visible, romantic, and powerful well into old age? These questions lingered even as the memes kept rolling.